Greetings, guitar fanatics. We're back again. Thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you. You know, the focus of my channel is helping guitar players learn what they need to know so that they can fluently play guitar solos. And while I'm primarily a rock guitarist, sometimes it seems like rock guitar players are all kind of using the same information, and sometimes the solos can start to sound a little bit generic. Well, today I want to show you a concept called triad pairs that can make your licks and lines sound really different and fresh. If you work on this technique a little, you can even create the sound of the modes without having to play scale patterns. And you'll be playing lines that sound less guitaristic and more like the licks and lines a saxophone or piano player might play. So if you want your licks to sound fresh and different and you want to understand the fretboard a lot better, you need to stick around and check this out. If you like the video, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. I'm Charlie Long. Let's play some guitar. So let's get a little music theory out of the way. What we're going to be doing today is putting together pairs of triads that sit next to one another on the fretboard. And we're going to play them over a certain type of chord to create a specific sound. The triads that we're going to be playing, they don't have any common tones, so basically we're creating little 6-note scales. But we're not going to play them as scales. We're going to play them as two separate little musical entities. And because of that, we're going to get some really fresh and unique combinations of intervals to build licks and lines with. Now let's do a quick review of the major scale and how we can build triads off each note in that scale. Keeping things as simple as possible, we're going to use the key of C because there's no sharps or flats in that key. Now the major scale has 7 notes. Each of these notes is given a numerical identifier that corresponds with where it sits in the scale. C major has the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And those notes would be the root, the second, the major third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and the major seventh. We can build a triad off each of those scale degrees by starting with a particular degree and pairing it with every other note. So if we start with the root, or C, we would put that together with an E and a G, and that gives us a C major triad. Now real quickly, we would say E is a third away from C because counting C as 1, we skip D, and E would be the third note we come to. Now we would call that E a major third because it's 4 frets or 2 whole steps above the C. We would say that G is a 5th away from C because starting with C, it's the 5th note we come to. And that note is a 3rd away from E. Starting on D, a note a 3rd away from D is F. But F is only 3 frets, or what we call a minor third, above D. And then we have the A note that is a 5th above the D. And because the third, or the F, is a minor third, the D triad in the key of C is a minor triad. Now we can go through the entire key, and the triads would be as follows. C, the root, is major. D, the 2, is minor. The 3rd degree, E, is also minor. The 4th, F, is major. The 5th, G, is major. The 6th, A, is minor. The 7th, which is B, is actually diminished. Now, I want you to be familiar with how to build triads for your own reference, but I really don't want this to be a music theory class. I want to play some guitar. So, okay, we've got triads. What do we do with them? Well, let's put together some triad pairs and start making licks. Let's start off by pairing up 2 triads to create the sound of the major scale. Let's take the triad of the root, which was C major, and the triad of the second, which was D minor. So C major, or C Ionian mode, has the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Now a C major triad has the notes C, E, and G. D minor triad has the notes D, F, and A. So we get 6 notes of that C major scale if we play those 2 triad. Now let's look at some shapes now, and to save time in this video, We're just going to look at shapes on the E, B, and G strings. Starting with C major, we have a shape starting with the C at the 8th fret of the E string. There's a G at the 8th fret of the B string. E is at the 9th fret of the G string. Moving up to the E at the 12th fret of the E string, we've got a C at the 13th fret of the B string. We've got a G at the 12th fret of the G string. And like I said, that E was at the 12th fret of the E string. Now we start that triad on the E note, but we're still playing C, E, and G. We just changed the order around, and we call that an inversion. Let's do that one more time. We're going to move up to the G at the 15th fret of the E string. We've got E at the 17th fret of the B string, and we've got a C at fret 17 of the G string. So there's 3 major triad shapes to get started with. How about D minor? Starting with the D at the 10th fret of the E string, there's an A and an F at frets 10 of the B and G strings also. If we go up to the F at the 13th fret of the E string, we've got a D and an A at frets 15 and 14 of the B and G strings. And if we go up to the A at the 17th fret of the E string, there's an F and a D at frets 18 and 19 of the B and G strings. So now we have 3 major shapes, 3 minor shapes to get started with. And check out how these sound. I'm just going to play the triad shapes instead of arpeggiating. We're going to play the D minor first and then C, starting with that D minor at the 17th fret. So now we have 3 major shapes, 3 minor shapes to get started with. Check out how these sound. I'm going to play the triad pairs as chords instead of arpeggiating them. And we're going to start with D minor first and then C. We're going to start with the D minor up at the 13th fret. Now here's a little C chord. Here's our triad pair. That sounds awesome over the C chord. Now let's arpeggiate them. We could descend through each triad. What if we were to descend through D minor and then ascend through the C? Here's a cool little pattern. Let's descend through D minor, but we're going to go back to the first note of that D minor triad before going to C, like this. We go all the way down the fretboard. Let's repeat that first note of each C triad before going on to the next D minor. Or we could flip things around, ascend up the fretboard. And of course, we're playing these things in a very clinical way right now, just trying to get an idea of how these triad pairs work and lay out on the fretboard. Once we're used to the triad shapes, then we can start building actual licks. Let's play the C triad at the 12th fret, but we're going to add a G note on top on the 15th fret of the E string, like this. Then we're going to slide that G to the A at the 17th fret. We're going to pull off to the F at the 13th fret, and then play D at fret 15 of the B string. So here's our D minor triad in a little bit different shape. We're going to play that F at the 13th fret of the E string again, and then we're going to go back to the C triad and descend through it. We put a little ending on it, and we got a really nice lick over a C major chord. Now here's one more. Let's play the C triad, the same as that last lick. The D minor triad with the notes A and F on fret 17 and 13 in the E string. D at the 15th fret of the B string, but then we're going to go back to that A at fret 17, and we're going to slide that A up to C at fret 20. And we get a little different C triad by playing the G and E at frets 20 and 17 of the B string. And we can end that lick with a bit of C major pentatonic, because now we're right there in that very familiar pentatonic box of C major, or what some might think of as A minor pattern 1. I hope you're getting a good taste of what we can do with these triad pairs. Let's try something a little different yet, and it will really start to unlock the power of this concept. So far, we've been playing a triad pair that gives us a very major sound. What if we wanted to play something over a dominant 7 chord? Now, dominant 7 chords have a flat 7 in them, makes them sound a little different than a straight major chord. And the mode that really nails the sound of a dominant 7 chord would be the Mixolydian mode, which is essentially the major scale with a flat 7th note. Now in C, that would give us the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, and B flat. So check out this triad pair. What if we paired up C major and the major triad a whole step or 2 frets below it, B flat? Well, the C triad was give us the notes C, E, and G, and the B flat major triad gives us the notes B flat, D, and F. So we've got all the notes of C Mixolydian except the A note. Check out how these pairs sound over a C dominant 7 chord. It absolutely nails that Mixolydian sound. So let's make up a couple of licks. The first one, we're not even going to play the entire triads. We're only going to play 2 notes of each shape as we move up or down the fretboard, down in this case. So we're going to end up playing all the notes anyway, because we get different note combinations as we move through the inversions, as they're called. We also get a little different rhythmic pattern just playing those 2 notes of each pattern. Now, here we go. We're going to try it starting with C up at the 20th fret. Move it down a whole step. That's B flat. We've got C at the 15th fret and 17th fret of the E and B strings. Move that down a whole step. There's our B flat. We've got a C triad here at the 12th fret. We're going to play 12 and 13 on the E and B strings. Move that down a whole step. And we could stop that anywhere and break off into something bluesy. I happen to be right here at C minor pentatonic. Let's do one more Mixolydian sounding lick. Let's play the B flat triad at the 6th fret. But we're going to put that D note at the 10th fret on top of it. And that's going to make our transition to the C triad sound really nice. And we're going to descend through that C triad. But then we're going to reach up and grab the E at the 12th fret. So it kind of extends that C triad. So far we've got this. Then we're going to slide to the F at fret 13, and we're going to pull off to the D at fret 10. Play the B flat at the 11th fret of the B string. So there's another B flat triad. We're going to play that F again, slide to fret 15. Play that G and then the E at the fret 12. C at fret 13 of the B string. There's our C triad. Hit that G again at the 15th fret and slide it up to the B flat at fret 18. And we could finish things off by playing some sort of a little bluesy lick from there. Another great sounding major tonality is the Lydian sound. Lydian mode is the major scale with a raised fourth degree. So C Lydian would have the notes C, D, E, F sharp instead of F, G, A, and B. So here's our triad pair for Lydian. We're going to take the root triad C major, and we're going to combine it with a major triad up a whole step this time, or 2 frets. So that would be D major. Remember, Mixolydian, we did 2 major triads, but we went C and then down a whole step. For Lydian, we're going to do a C triad and then up a whole step, D major. So C gives us the notes, as we know, C, E, and G. D major gives us the notes D, F sharp, and A. So that gives us 6 notes of C Lydian. All we're missing is the B note. Now, if we play a chord progression that already has a Lydian tonality, say like D sus2, and then C add 9 sharp 11, check out how these C and D triads sound over that. Beautiful. So here's a lick for you. Let's use the triad shapes on the E and B strings for this one. So D and A at frets 22 and 17 of the E string. And then we've got fret 19 of the B string. That's going to be F sharp. And we go back and we're going to play that D one more time at fret 22. We're going to slide that shape down a whole step and play C, G, E, and then G again. We're going to play another D shape at frets 17 and 14 of the E string and 15 of the B string, and then go back to that A note at fret 17 on top again. We're going to slide that shape down a whole step, and we're going to play the C triad. And we're going to go back to that E at the 12th fret at the end of it. And then we're going to end with a little flourish. We're going to play the G at the 15th fret. And then we're going to play F sharp at fret 14 and bend it back up to G. We're going to release that bend. Go down to E at the 12th fret of the E string and then slide up into the E at the 17th fret of the B string. So we kind of work in that raised fourth to really cement that Lydian sound. Here's the whole thing. Okay, one last lick. Let's start out with a little 8-note run in E minor pentatonic. We're going to play G and A at frets 12 and 14 of the G string, B and D at frets 12 and 15 of the B string. We're going to go back to A on that G string and then play B and D on the B string and the E at fret 12 of the E string. So here's that little pentatonic run. And then we're going to climb the fretboard using 2 notes of the C and D triads. We're going to play G and C at frets 15 and 13 of the E and B string. Slide that up a whole step. We're going to play A and D at frets 17 and 15. We're going to slide up. We're going to play the C note at fret 20. E note at fret 17 of the B string. We're going to slide that up a whole step, and we're going to play D and F sharp. And we end the lick by going back to the E, which is the major third of the C chord. Here's that whole thing over backing track. Okay, so we've really just scratched the surface of triad pairs. We're already getting some really cool sounds. I hope you noticed how we're using some different shapes and changing the order of the notes we play to come up with different licks. Today we only played sounds that were from the major modes. You can do the same thing with minors, you can do the same thing with some exotic scales. And of course, there are different triad shapes all over the fretboard across all the string sets that you're going to want to learn and incorporate into your practice as you get used to this. I guess the whole point I'm trying to make in this video is to give you another tool that's going to allow you to play modal sounds without having to play the same old scale runs and patterns that we've been hearing since the 1980s. Not that they're not really cool, but take this stuff and run with it. There are so many possibilities, so get out there and make it sound great. Thanks for watching. As always, if you liked the video, give me a like and subscribe to the channel. We're putting out more cool guitar content every week. As always, work hard, play hard, have lots of fun, never stop learning. See you soon.